Hello, it's Sarah from Hardcover Hearts, and I'm back with my week of reading wrap-up. This is where I talk about the books that I read this week, what I'm currently reading, and potentially could read next week based on my mood or based on reading rush. So let's get into it. I didn't read as many books this week. Work was absolutely insane. I had so much going on. Plus, I'm reading kind of interesting books that are going to take a little while longer, so I won't be able to get as many into the mix as I normally do, except for next week. Next week is going to blow everything out of the water with reading rush. But let me tell you what I did read. First up is, I knocked this one out. This is Antipoldi in the Vineyards of Etna by Mario Giordano, and the translation is from John Brownjohn. This is another funny madcap romp of Antipoldi. She is the German woman who is retired to Sicily. She is hard drinking, hard living, kind of woman. She gets an idea in her mind and she just runs with it and does what she wants to do. So she is kind of riding high on the success of solving the crime that happened in the first book. This is the second in the series, and trying to find out what else she can help solve. Her boyfriend, who is the inspector, Chief Inspector Montana, doesn't want any of her help. Number one, he has a little bit of pride and he'd like to solve his own crimes, thank you very much. But he also realizes that she can kind of be a tornado. So he kind of keeps her shunted away. There's a mystery that's happening in that her water and the water in her neighborhood has been turned off. So she needs to figure out how did this get turned off? And the obvious answer that everyone keeps telling her is, oh, the mafia did it because you're messing with you're getting too close to things. So it's a message. And it's creating all sorts of havoc. And the dog, one of the dogs of her neighbor, was murdered. So as she starts to try to solve these crimes, she kind of finds her way into others. There is a psychic involved in this one. There's a water scheme. There are corrupt politicians. There is a vineyard owner who has a twin that she kind of has a little fling with. All sorts of madcap adventures behold Antipoldi in this one. I enjoyed it just as much as I did the first one. I thought it was fun. There's also another sub-story here that I think is really fun, the way they set it up. It feels very old-fashioned, and that is that we've got her nephew who comes in, and he's kind of the narrator. So he's observing what's happening, and so you have these kind of two narrations, one from Poldi and then the other from her nephew, who's kind of observing her and keeping an eye on her. And he's an aspiring writer. And so she keeps trying to get him to include her in his books and write about her, and he's trying not to. So it's just another interesting layer of how it's written and a fun perspective. I enjoy these very, very much, and am looking forward to getting to the third one, which I have on ARC very soon. Then I finished the audiobook of Jane Austen at Home. This is by Lucy Worsley. Fantastic, and especially to do during Jane Austen July. The narration is great. The information is so robust and so thoughtfully executed. I thought it was well done. I realized that I created an amalgamation of all sorts of different young women writers that I assumed to be Jane Austen. And so teasing all of that apart and focusing entirely on Jane was a wonderful thing, and I think it gave me a much better appreciation for her work and as well as her place in history. Yeah, so I highly recommend it. I think it is a great thing, and especially to kind of give you that background context for reading Jane Austen in July. So happy to have completed that. And that's it. That's all I finished this week. Let me tell you what I'm reading now, because let me tell you some really good stuff. So first up, Leo and I have started our journey in Search of Lost Time, Marcel Proust. This is the translation by Lydia Davis. And I had to double check because I ordered a different one thinking that was Lydia Davis's translation, but turns out this is it. I admit I got a little nervous when this one said The Way by Swans. I was like, we all know it to be Swan's Way. What are you talking about? But the translation is amazing. We're breaking this into 4 sections, and actually 5 sections. So reading chapter 1 of part 1 and then chapter 2. So this week we check in tomorrow. I'll save my thoughts for Leo. But I will admit that the very, very beginning was a little dense and hard to get into. I wasn't really sure what I was reading, and it was so meditative. It was also at night, and I think it was putting me to sleep because he's talking about going to sleep and waking up in that disoriented state of mind. But it's so dreamy and so meditative that it was very easy to lull myself and fall asleep, which is great, but not when you're trying to get through a book. So my husband, my generous, loving, wonderful husband, let me read aloud to him to see if I could find my way into this book. So I read about 20 pages out loud to him, and that helped me get over that hurdle. So I will say, if you're starting it and you're having challenges, just know it does get better. The first bit is a little difficult to get through, but it'll start opening itself up very quickly after that. So I won't say any more because Leo and I have our first check-in tomorrow, but just know that this is, so far, sublime. Very much, I think this is going to be a fantastic project. Then I have Mexican Gothic by Silvia Moreno-Garcia. Ooh, this is, I can't even tell you how much I'm loving this. I am only, I would say, maybe a fourth of the way through. But the premise of this book is we've got Noemi, and she is a young debutante in Mexico City. Her father sends her to a rural area to look into what's going on with her cousin, Catalina. Catalina was their cousin, but they were kind of almost raised as sisters after an accident which left Catalina orphaned. And so her father has a very vested interest in making sure that Catalina is okay. Catalina married in what they think to be was an impulsive marriage to this man named Virgil. And she sent a few letters that sound like she's very confused or something is very, very wrong. Absolutely. And so he sends Noemi to go down there and to make sure everything's okay. And if need be, convince Virgil to release Catalina into their care so they could bring her back to Mexico City. So already a great, exciting Gothic premise. This is kind of set in the 1950s. What's giving it all that Gothic Daphne du Maurier type of vibes is that she arrives in this rural town by train, and the very old, very fancy car is there waiting for her, and it's Virgil's cousin who lives in this big mansion as well. Turns out the people that live there are Virgil's father, who's decrepit and very, very old and very, very creepy. There's Virgil's sister, who is this man's mother, and she is giving you all Mrs. Danvers vibes. Just very strict and rigid, creepy. She's going to be an interesting one to follow. And then we obviously have Virgil and Catalina. And then a very few hired staff to support this entire big mansion. And this town has fallen into ruins. It used to be a silver mine, and now there's nothing there. And they drive up this hill, and they see that the house, it's like it would have been set in England. Perfectly redone. It's a mansion, perfectly redone in Victorian style, and there's even an English graveyard behind, old Victorian style. So the setup is fantastic. I love a strong female character, and Naomi is definitely that. And I'm enjoying this very, very much flying through. I'm trying to slow myself down because I'm enjoying it so much. So this bodes very, very well. And then I also have the audio of The Kingdom of Copper. This is the second in the Daevabad trilogy by S.A. Chakraborty. I love this too. This is kind of Arab fantasy series. We have Nahiri, who is this wonderful character. We meet her in volume 1 as kind of a woman who was kind of faking like she was a healer, but she kind of did have some magical healing powers, but she was more of a con artist than she was a traditional healer per se. And she accidentally sets free an Ifrit, and then has kind of meets him, and they go off on this adventure. She also had meets up with Ali and his brother, who are princes. She is taken into this kingdom, and we have royal espionage. We have challenges with different cultures in this kind of fantasy land, Daevabad, and it's just still such a good story, and the characters are so well drawn, and you can picture everything. It's such a great environment to be in, and I love all the intrigue and backstory of what's happening with all the different characters. Where everyone was together in the last one, they've all kind of splintered off and have been separated, and are slowly finding their way back to each other in different manners and ways. So really enjoying it. I'm only about 30% of the way through, but we'll continue with that. And the audiobook is phenomenal. Then I'm hoping I can get some of this done. This is the Annotated Northanger Abbey. I'm no further along than I was last week. I love annotated books, but they do take a little longer because you're reading the straight text, and then you're reading all of the footnotes and all of the contextual tidbits that go along with it. But it does make for a better reading experience. And I think the combination of Mexican Gothic and this is kind of like a nice mix. So enjoying that, and we'll continue there. And I'm hoping to get Mexican Gothic and Northanger Abbey done this weekend so that I can go full bore next week. And I have my books all lined up, ready to go here. I'm hoping to knock it out of the park for Reading Rush next week. I'm really, really excited, and I'm going to try to vlog. I just don't know how exciting it's going to be because I'm literally just in my apartment. I might try to go on the roof a little bit. Maybe I'll take some walks. I don't know. We'll see. There's just not really. They've locked down shelter in place back again in Berkeley, so it's not really a great idea to be walking around and filming and all that kind of stuff. Plus, let's be honest, walking around is time that I'm not reading. So we'll see if I can come up with something that's at least interesting to vlog about. I don't know. We'll see. But that's it. That's it for me. I do hope that you had a chance to see the Anita Bruckner In Deep conversation that I started with Leo. So videos 1 and 2 are up. We just put that out last night because yesterday was Anita Bruckner's birthday. So we thought it was kind of an auspicious day to launch. So that's up. Hope you will look at that, and specifically Leo's video, because he did such an amazing job at kind of giving you a sense of what the first 5 books are like without any spoilers, spoiler free, just because there's been a lot of conversation in the comments about which Anita Bruckner to pick up, what is she like, what is her style, and I think that Leo really found a great way to articulate the beauty and the magic that Anita Bruckner brings to her books. So please take some time to take a look at that, and then I'll be responding later on next week to that. That's it from me so far. Thank you so much for watching. Please maintain safe social distance. Wash your hands frequently. Don't touch your face. And I look forward to seeing you next time. Thank you.